Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to make an intervention on this very important matter. Madam Speaker, I begin with a quotation from an Express editorial of April 3rd, 2024, quite recently. And in reference to the member for San Fernando West, the title of the editorial, Laventille West, Minister of National Security, the title of the editorial is New Heights of Emptiness. Madam Speaker, I imagine the Express can now serialize this initiative. After today's presentation, there will be New Heights of Emptiness Part 2. It says, as Minister of National Security, and I mean great respect, I mean great respect to the member, Fitzgerald Hines has come to be defined by his wordy and meandering expositions on crime-related issues, unquote. Madam Speaker, I could not have put it better myself. Madam Speaker, he is now provoking me, having spoken for 45 minutes, about what he talked about, pepper? Who? Pepper. Yeah. Madam Speaker, please. So, I begin by placing in context the member's presentation, as the Express has editorialized. Madam Speaker, this is not the first time. In fact, the member has the unfortunate experience of having about 5 editorials of equal merit. Thank you very much, attorney from Karen East. But he has distinguished himself among the editorial writers as someone who is vacuous, empty, lacking logic. Today, in a few bizarre, Madam Speaker, in the few waking moments that he shared with us today, it demonstrates this capacity, this ongoing capacity to be out of sync with the reality in Trinidad and Tobago. You see, Madam Speaker, the Minister of National Security, as I said, who has been editorialized about 5 times in that vein, regrettably so, came today and he was bloviating. And that is not an obscene word. He has been bloviating in the Parliament and trying to convince us that there is some merit in the matter that is before us. Madam Speaker, I begin by asking the question, what is the relevance of this bill? Of what relevance? I remember a friend in UWI used to always begin an argument of what relevance is this bill? Why are we here? We could be dealing with other matters involving the terrible and tragic situation at the Port of Spain hospital. We could have been dealing with matters dealing with the murder rate. We could have been dealing with matters detection. The intelligence community has collapsed under the watch of the member for Diego Martin West and Laventille West. But we are here with an amendment which the member admits that he will not get the support of the loyal opposition, but he brought it anyway. They brought it anyway. What are they doing? What would cause this amendment to rear its head? What? Are you playing some game with the population? Maybe with the opposition? Are you in some misdirected way misinterpreting political reality? But you are doomed to fail. Why do you do this? Could we not have gone on to some other bill? But Madam Speaker, the member made reference to a few matters which I am committed to respond to, because Madam Speaker, I have also been part of history. And being part of history, I cannot allow the member for Laventille West to give his interpretation that may be misleading, misguided, misconceived, and missing the mark, without adding, of course, my own recollection of that period. Madam Speaker, there was a time in this country when a police commissioner, deputy commissioner and so on, would be appointed and no one would know. No one would know. 2-3 weeks after, months after maybe, you would wake up one day and hear Commissioner XY or Acting Commissioner AB made a statement and you say, well, where he came from, generally where he came from. When was he appointed? And you don't know. And Madam Speaker, that was how it was with many service commissions and so on, but the Commissioner of Police as well. And when in that historic pack of the 2006 period or thereabout, the former Prime Minister Patrick Manning, who himself had some modicum of decency, unlike others who may be incumbent. Madam Speaker, when Mr. Manning and Mr. Pandey, then leader of the opposition, met, along with the member, I think Barataria Sawa told us, the member for then Aruka South, the member for Siparia and others, met, they fashioned a new framework for the appointment that would bring some measure of confidence and trust in the police service. And nothing was forced down the throat of anyone. Mr. Manning spoke to that, and Mr. Manning had the distinction of firing the member for Laventille West, I believe, removing him from ministry and the House. He has he has a checkered career as a sitting member, meaning he came, he left, he returned, and he will leave again. So, Madam Speaker, the former member for San Fernando East understood his capacity, understood his competence, and removed him. So, Madam Speaker, the constitutional amendment bill was to bring transparency, openness, in a system that is not the best. And I go to this issue now. The system we operate with today is not the best. The member for Laventille West accidentally fell into the truth by quoting something I said. He tripped and fell into the truth by quoting a matter I raised. Quite by accident. Could not have been his intention. So, Madam Speaker, this is not the best system. When I have spoken on several occasions on acting appointments and so on, I've made the point, it's not the best system, but it is a system that has benefit, that brings merit. Had it not been for this system, we would not have stood in this House and raised certain concerns about one Wendell Lucas. We have no personal issue with him. We raised that issue, and then in a shocking revelation, the government, with one member not knowing what the next member doing, they voted against him. It happened here. Am I correct? It happened here recently. But it allowed the parliament, and meaning the people, to have an assessment of a candidate in a situation that is not the best. This is not the best, and we'll come to that. It's not the best. But something works. So, Mr. Attorney General, why are you shaking the building to find out why it's standing? Were you shaking the building to find out why it's standing? This works, but it is not the best. But we get an opportunity to interrogate a curriculum vitae, a resume, to raise issues. This is a small society, Madam Speaker. The Commissioner of Police, Deputy Commissioner, they don't come from another state 8,000 kilometers from Port of Spain. They don't take a flight to come here. They don't travel by aeroplane to come to Port of Spain from Point Fortin. This is a small country, village country. So you will discover things, you will learn things, you will get an assessment of people. In our community, we know each other in terms of persons who are in public service and so on. We know the strengths. Well, we don't know the strengths. We know the weaknesses of the Minister of Finance. We know what he's about. It's a small society. And therefore, Madam Speaker, in small societies, people are not alien. That's the point I'm making. So in a system where you reflect on an acting commissioner, acting deputy commissioner, we do our investigations and we come up. It was the opposition that raised issues of Wendell Lucas. It was the opposition. It was the opposition that put on record that an appointee for the position of acting deputy commissioner of police had a challenge. I was shocked, as all of us were, when the member for Laventille West went on record a few moments ago to say, what happened is this person accidentally hit someone on the bus route. How you know it was accident? You were in the car? You were in the car? How you know it's accident? How can you assess that? How can you come to that conclusion? Unless you were a witness or you were in the car. I pray to God. Oh yes, I come into that. What's the name of that dog? There was a name. Motley? Oh no. Madam Speaker, the Minister of National Security ought not to be making a conclusion on a matter that is properly before the court. involving a senior police officer who allegedly hit someone on the bus route. We do not know if it's accident or not. The court will determine that. But the Minister of National Security ought not to be going on record in the public, in Parliament, to indicate that that event was an accident. That is wrong. And he ought to apologize elsewhere and everywhere for that. What is it when you accidentally, well, I don't know, I wasn't there. When you bounced down Mali, that was an accident? I don't know. Mali was the name of the dog. Yeah. I mean, it was such a cruel irony that someone clad in that hairstyle will bounce down a dog named Mali.
Sit down. He didn't raise a standing order.
There's no standing order,
Madam Speaker.
I will not give way. But I can't give way, I'm on the floor. What standing order?
It's empty.
I rise on standing order 46, 48.4 and 48.6. I am being told, we are being told by the member for Oropouche that I bounce some dog. If it was a big truck and it was the UNC, would it be a different thing, Madam Speaker?
Right. Okay, so I overrule. I take it that a certain amount of banter is allowed, but member for Oropouche, let's get on with your presentation.
Madam Speaker, let me move on because that matter seems to irritate the member. So I leave that. Madam Speaker, I'm a great friend and I'm a pet owner, and these things affect me as well. So I just think of my poodle Louis, and it affects me. Madam Speaker, let me. Yeah, Louis. I pray to God you don't go driving anywhere I live in. You know. Madam Speaker, so we have this issue now. The member raised the issue of accident, and I put that to rest already. I want to move on from that. So, Madam Speaker, why do you come to the Parliament? And I made the point on my legs here several times. I was in the famous cage during the COVID business and so on, making the point that there are weaknesses that we face. That a commissioner of police, a commissioner of police is going to attend a conference in Grenada, a 2-day conference. The Parliament has to put an acting commissioner in place and we have to meet. But you know, in practice, what has happened? Has that really been a big thing? Has that really taken all day and all night? Generally, the government will come with the motion. At the end of some important business, they will say, we'll deal with this motion now. Or, in fact, to my knowledge, they have never opened a sitting of Parliament dealing with that motion. It comes as a motion, and generally there is one speaker. Generally, it is the member for Diego Martin West. Generally, it is myself, and on an occasion, another member on both sides. But really, that has not taken all of our time. That has not wasted 24 hours and 36 hours of Parliament time, because the Parliament meets generally every week, and you bring the motion and we discuss the motion, but there is a certain transparency. Now you could have saved this if you were advancing another position to say, listen, we can make some change or contemplate a change where if an acting position is for 7 days or less, there's a particular route, but once you are contemplating over 7 days, well, there's another route. The other issue, please, the Minister of Finance is disturbing me with irrelevant matters. We will come to this property tax order and so on at another time. Madam Speaker, then you could have had another thought. You could have said, where in the event that someone who is new, a new name arise, who has not acted before in a position, is coming before the Parliament, we will now have that must be referred to Parliament. As opposed to someone like the member for Diego Martin Northeast, who has acted, I believe, how much it is, 74 times as Prime Minister? Yeah, 73.
And we never come to Parliament.
I got it wrong. I was thinking of Ghana and India coming up. So 74 with Ghana and India, but we will come to that. In fact, we should have a bill where we debate the travel of the Prime Minister. Yes. Every time he wants to travel, we debate that.
So
but that is not a matter
yes,
for today.
Please.
No.
Let's get on to the business.
Madam Speaker, that's not a matter for now. But the point I'm making is that you could have had a different way to deal with this, where if a commissioner is going for 2 days or less than 3-4 days, you have a framework to allow that. If it is someone new or someone who has never acted before, they must be subjected to the Parliament. But they don't contemplate this. They come with this blanket amendment to the Constitution as a free-fall. So what prevents, I'm just thinking of a name hypothetically,
Entrenched provision.
Brent Clement? I don't know if that is a real person. What prevents somebody named Brent Clement from becoming acting deputy commissioner of police in the heat of the night, at the midnight hour? Nobody knows because it is not subject to parliamentary scrutiny. What? And then Mr. Clement goes on to act for 2 years as a deputy commissioner of police. What prevents that with this amendment? So you cannot come with an amendment like this, which is reckless, which undermines our democratic fabric, which undermines principles of the Constitution that allows for transparency, openness, accountability. No one could stand after and say we had a debate on an acting deputy commissioner and it took 8 hours and we had to call the parliament on Saturday and Sunday to do that. No, we did that as a little debate coming to the end and so on. One speaker. Because how much you could talk on the CV? How much?
Half an hour time.
And Madam Speaker, I've made the point repeatedly. The issue is not the process as it is now. It's to deepen the process so that when we debate an acting deputy commissioner, for example, we get not only their CV, but we get the list, the assessment, some type of summary from the Police Service Commission as to the assessment. How did you arrive at this person as opposed to the other person? There are persons who have applied for positions in the hierarchy of the police service. Names come to mind, Mr. Ramisa, Mr. Ram Kelawan, I believe. And they don't know why they were not selected. They have Andre Norton. They don't know why they were rejected. They have no clue as to why they were not selected. Their name did not come before the parliament, and the members of parliament don't either. We depend on the Police Service Commission without coming to the parliament and telling us this is the assessment. This is the list that we came up with based on this assessment. And now we cannot micromanage. It is not that we will see the name John Smith and say, no, when it came to public speaking, when it came to communications and public relations interface, he should have gotten more points. We can't do that. That's not our job. But we must see what were the criteria. What is the assessment? Who were those persons assessed? So we know that when the name is before us, the Police Service Commission believed that this was the best person in the circumstances. You can deepen the process to allow Parliament more scrutiny, not to remove scrutiny from the Parliament. And I come to the judgment. Madam Speaker, I come to the judgment of Madam Justice Nadia Kangaloo in this matter, Ravi Balgobin versus the Attorney General Police Service Commission, Gary Griffith. And you know, I have read this, Madam Speaker, and what stood out for me was at page 60 of 60, 234. And I quote from the judgment, which is critical, which the member for Laventille West cited, but not read. He did not read it, but he cited it. It happens with him. 234. This court concludes, and I quote, this court concludes with the answer to its initial question posed through the lyrical genius that was Lord Austin. Who will guard the guards? We, the people, through our elected representatives. So when you ask, as I think the Prime Minister asked recently, who will guard the guards? We must guard the guards. The parliamentary representatives on both sides of the aisle. That is our sacred duty. And when you remove jurisdiction, you remove this right to guard the guards, you undermine democracy, you undermine the Constitution, you undermine the law. No one, including the Attorney General, I listened to him, Madam Speaker, I was not in the House, but I listened attentively to him. And I was waiting for the compelling argument. His argument was this thing too bureaucratic. Maybe too bureaucratic for him, because I think he couldn't submit some documents in a Miami court. But it is not too bureaucratic for us. Not too bureaucratic. We have no problem coming here, receiving the names, and having a short, very short debate on the names, so we can bring information to you. Members of the government themselves are not aware sometimes of what is happening in the parliament, of names, of proposals. I am wondering whether the Police Service Commission knew of this amendment.
No.
And we are reliably informed that the Police Service Commission are in the dark on this amendment. And I'll ask the government to clarify whether it was made known to them, whether they made comments, privately or otherwise, on this. We are told that someone went for an interview for a position in the hierarchy of the police service and told the Police Service Commission, only don't know it have a bill coming to take away all of that. What manner of madness is this? And the government is on their way out. They ought not to be tampering and interfering with the Constitution as they are on the way out. Allow a new incoming UNC administration to address these matters. Allow that. The Minister of Finance himself has signaled to the national community through his actions that they are tired. They are tired, they suffer from fatigue, and they are just waiting to demit office. So do not tamper with monotonous frequency, with critical issues, entrenched provisions in the Constitution. Now is not the time for that. Now is the time for a little amendment and whatever and so on. But not critical amendments like this. You ought not to be doing this in your last days in the government. Madam Speaker, so I made the point, a critical point from the judgment. And the Minister of National Security describing the current situation as administrative quagmire and so on. But it is so because the population don't trust you. They don't trust you. They prefer it comes to Parliament and we have a debate. And the member, Madam Speaker, I was not going down this line, but I must, the member for Laventille West spoke about the years 2010, 2015, and so on, what happened there, and the acting, we had an acting commissioner of police at the time, and so on. He made reference to that. I wish he did not, but he did. Madam Speaker, there was a time quite recently under this administration when there was no commissioner of police, not even acting, and the Minister of Finance had to do some type of gymnastic type of work, given his able frame, had to do some gymnastic work to ensure that there was in law an accounting officer to disperse monies to the TTPS. Who did you appoint? The PS, I think? And the Minister of Finance, yes, Madam Speaker, I will not allow him to distract me today. Madam Speaker, the Minister of Finance had to put things in place to get an accounting officer for the TTPS because there was no commissioner of police. So you look at 2010, 2015 and say we had an acting commissioner. You had none. None. And today, they stand today and tell us the importance of this role, FUL, and the importance of, interception. You know, the last person to talk about interception of communication and surveillance is member for Laventille West. The entire intelligence community has collapsed. Today you don't know what is happening. It's compromised. It's compromised, Madam Speaker. And the members speak again about the FUL and so on, that the police commissioner is critical to that, when they had none in place. The member made reference, I believe, to the Stanley John report. And what was he mentioned in summary form, what he believed the summary to be of that report. But where is that report? Where is this Stanley John report? Is it in the hands of the police for investigation? It's certainly not before the Parliament. Is it prevented from coming here? Did a court injunct somebody from bringing it here? Where's the report? If it is a report that speaks to wrongdoing, particularly criminal wrongdoing, one assumes it's in the hands of the police to meet and treat with it and take whatever action deemed necessary. But the member stood today and talked about the Stanley John report and what the report said, knowing that none of us read it. The member for Laventille West has a habit of telling us, a talent of telling us what are in reports that nobody read.
Not even him.
One assumed that he would have read it. But it's a big jump. I think it's a tenuous assumption. It's a tenuous assumption to believe that the member read it himself. Madam Speaker, the member for Laventille West as well premise his contribution on this issue that today was this great day, that we are coming to an end of bureaucratic and administrative, blockage and so on. I just want to ask the member and the government, name one person who has been recommended to act in the position of deputy commissioner or commissioner. One person that by administrative and bureaucratic obstacle could not come before the parliament. When? One instant when one person could not come before the parliament. Is there one? And if there's one, raise it today. Tell us that on this weekend last year, at this time, somebody was supposed to act and the parliament didn't meet, so they couldn't act and so on. That is not so. The opposition would meet and treat with any acting appointment at any time, at any day, at any place. We would meet and treat with it. So this constitution amendment bill is the government trying to do something which befuddles us. They may be up to some... I am choosing the word, Madam Speaker, very carefully. They may be up to something that we don't know about. I think that's best. They may be up to something that we don't know about. Why are they doing this? Why they choose now? Of all the time in the world, you choose now. What are you coming to test here? Are you coming to test the resolve of the member for Oropouche? Are you coming to test the resolve of the member for Siparia? What are you coming here to test? What is this? A litmus test of something? You must tell the population why you came today to waste parliament time. With an amendment that you know cannot. When I first heard of this bill, without reading it in depth as I did, I asked my colleagues, I said, what majority that requires? They said 2/3. I suppose, why would they do something like this?
The maths.
You all have some maths problem? SCA just finished, you need some lessons on maths? What is 41? And 2/3 of 41. And how much you have on that side? Awake. How much on that side? Awake. And what you have on this side? Couture. Mischief. And Madam Speaker, they are here to play games with an important issue of the Constitution. And I would advise them that this is not a time, and this is certainly not the place to play games. When you have had the murder rate so far of 172 and counting for the year, when everything in the national security framework appear to have collapsed, that you are coming here to tinker, to play games with the Constitution. When, as the member for Barataria, Sawa pointed out rightly, there's a freshly minted constitutional committee led by a former speaker, senior counsel Barindra Yudhishthira Sinanan, meeting up and down the place with 10 people. But they will eventually meet with 11. And
Member for Oropouche, you have 2 more minutes of original speaking time left. You're entitled to 15 more minutes.
I appreciate it.
Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Why does the government not go to the Constitution Reform Committee and their meetings and so on, and go with the bill? Indicate that this is a good bill. This is a good idea. We'd like you to adopt it. We'd like to hear a public discussion on this. Yeah. And I think in the party, the member for Port of Spain South is in the driver's seat of legislative innovation. And they will not take it in their party. There was a time in this country, I mean, I am so horrified always to be going back. But when Mr. Manning led that party, Mr. Manning would come to the population and indicate that these critical matters of national concern will first go to the General Council of the PNM. And they will debate on a Saturday all day. Today they have no party, they have no leader, they have no chairman. Go to Balize House and get a consensus from your party on matters like this, and then come to the parliament. Come with the weight of the party. And you have a brand new, I think, how much? $45 million? 100 million? What? Madam Speaker, you leave that right there.
Air condition.
Air condition?
Air condition.
Madam Speaker, let's move on.
I've allowed you some
Yes,
period.
yes.
Let's get on with the...
Yes,
bill.
Madam Speaker. So, we are here today to indicate to the government that they must have respect for the Constitution. They must have respect for these sacred principles and values. They must do nothing to undermine that by creating a new framework, which is the objective here, of bringing into play a system where no one knows of acting appointments. And there's a related issue. Now, the government has, in this bill, of course, indicated, the bill here, that they are, I just want to read it to properly quote, by the Commissioner of Police, Clause 4, Madam Speaker, and the bill, an act to amend the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, number 1 of 2024, Clause 4, the Commissioner of Police and Deputy Commissioner of Police selection process number 2 order 2021 is amended by revoking Clause 4 and 5 of an order. What order it is now? Order 277. So I have this in my hand as well. Clause 4 and Clause 5, they will now, of course, process is amended by revoking. So they are revoking 2 clauses from an order. The order is Legal Notice 277. But what is 4 and 5? 4 and 5 deals with nominations submitted in accordance with the procedure of the Constitution in respect to candidates, where the process allows for a dossier to be referred to the Parliament, the application of the candidate, the biography, the resume, and so on. But importantly, at 4.2, where they deal with for the purposes of acting appointments to the Office of Commissioner of Police, the Commission shall establish and maintain an order of merit list, which shall, in descending order of seniority, the officers who are holding or acting in the Office of Commissioner of Police or Assistant Commissioner of Police, possess the qualification and experience required for appointment to the Office of Commissioner of Police. The long and short of this, I just read from the order, but we have had the situation where there is an order of merit based on seniority in descending order, meaning the most senior and the less senior and so on, right? We have operated with that for some time. They have taken steps to remove, in the first instance, descending order of seniority, and now the entire 4 and 5. Gone down the drain. So there is no need now for seniority. There is no need for a merit list, order of merit list. Why do you undermine what would be 16 years of progress? 16 years of progress in building this type of framework for transparency in one fell swoop. You just throw it away. 4 and 5 gone. Seniority gone. Merit list gone. Everything gone.
Bliss gone.
Bliss come, bliss gone. List come, list gone. That is what they're doing today. Why are you doing this? Is there somebody with less seniority? Less? A constable that you want to marshal into the office? Is there a constable you wish to marshal into a particular office? Is there one that you wish to appoint who may not be senior, but you want to appoint that person to a particular office? And therefore you have to come to the Parliament. You have to come to the Parliament to remove Legal Notice 277, Clause 4 and 5. Because you have in your intent to take persons who do not have seniority and who are not qualified and who are not on an order of merit list. Because it may well be that members of the Police Service Commission are telling you that no, they are not prepared to break the law and the Constitution like this. So you come to the Parliament and say, let's break the law here. Well, we make the law because the Parliament can't do it with the requisite majority. You want to change the law to accommodate persons who are not qualified, who are not senior, to act in positions of Deputy Commissioner of Police and Commissioner of Police. And that is the risk that we face with this. So the Attorney General, I am sure in his winding up, he will be a bit more intelligible. I'm sure. I think his strategy, which I picked up early, is that his first speech is normally unintelligible, and later he tries to make amends. I think it's a useful strategy. I think in his winding up, he will really tell us something more. But he may not want us to debate that, so you'll use that for the winding up, which really I think is not in conformity with the standing orders, but he can do it. He will do it. Because there must be something else you are concerned with here. It is not time. I mean, I keep on saying it cannot be time. The Minister of the Minister of National Security has now taken it upon himself to speak on motions filed in the name of the Prime Minister on acting appointments. And that's no problem. So if the Prime Minister, Madam Speaker, is not available for this debate, as he traveled 19 times in 3 years, he was not available. But if for any reason he is not available, the Minister of National Security can pilot the motion for an acting appointment and we can debate. And Madam Speaker, you meticulously manage these debates so we can speak on nothing more but the CV and the resume. With meticulous care. So we ensure that these debates are constrained, within a frame. And within the standing orders, they don't lead forever, all night. And generally one speaker each. So that the Attorney General must tell us, beyond what he is concocting as administrative and bureaucratic obstacles, what else?
Concocting, I think, is that word. If you could withdraw that word and find another word, please.
Okay, I withdraw the word.
Yes.
I leave that blank and wordless. I won't find another word, but I withdraw the offending word. Madam Speaker, so again, I'm just reflecting on the notes I took from both the Attorney General and the Minister of National Security. The Minister of National Security, of course, spoke. He made an interesting point, which I'll just reply to in closing, that he said during the time of 2010 to 2015, the then PNM opposition, he was not in opposition, Mr. Manning had fired him by then, but they supported many constitutional bills and so on. I want to remind him that the People's Partnership had 29 seats. We did not necessarily need the support, but we accept the support. We did not need it, but we accept it. On many occasions did receive support from the then opposition, most of the members that Mr. Manning had selected, not himself. So it was not any magic that we were able to get. The other point is that when we came with law, we came with intelligible, progressive law. You were almost compelled to support us. Well drafted. So there was a compulsion that you must support. Today, what do we have? This. And we can't go further with this, Madam Speaker. We can't go further with this. So, Madam Speaker, in closing, I just want to tell the government that, look, you know, Madam Speaker, I want to tell the members of the government, the Attorney General pilot this matter. You know what I know. And I know what you know. You know you're getting no support. Don't spend too much time. I mean, have a heart. Don't waste time. Not called a heart, but have a heart. Don't waste time. You know, and this argument is weak. Now, if there may be other compelling arguments, let us have it. Yes. We can engage, for sure. But this one argument of administrative bureaucratic is weak, is useless, is frivolous, vexatious, and it ought to be debunked. And therefore, without any further argument from two leading ministers of the government, Madam Speaker, I want to assure them that you don't have our assurance of support.